Hello, Abraham. I speak to you often. A question that I have for you, and as the universe had brought me other people with similar interests who just happened to be sitting next to me. We have a hobby, we have astrology. And one of the questions I have for you is that as we study astrology, and we look at charts, or especially I read a lot of my own lately, as you know. But astrology, you hear a lot about it, and it's supposed to be a fingerprint of your life, and you can see the different cycles you go through. And it seems to be adverse that if I was to look at astrology, maybe I should put it aside and think, well, I'm going to manifest only the best things in my life. Versus astrology, when I look at a chart and I see all the planets lined up and I go, oops, something bad is happening, or I try to warn someone. How does astrology, is that part of the universe as a guide? Is that with all the other information that comes that helps us along the way?
Well, it's logical, isn't it, that in the same way that as you stand here now, living life and setting forth new intentions, it's logical that you didn't start doing that only once you got here into this physical body. It's logical, isn't it, that from your non-physical vantage point that you had intentionality as you were coming in. Isn't it logical that as you were non-physical energy looking forward to this leading edge human experience that you would set forth some intentions? And isn't it logical that from that non-physical vantage point of non-resistance, that the intentions that you set forth would be so strong and unchallenged that the entire universe would cooperate with giving you exactly what you wanted? In other words, we would like to say that the exact timing and placement of your birth was not random or an accident. It was deliberate creation from your non-physical vantage point. And we would go further to say that if anyone from physical form had the ability to actually translate that intentionality, that they would have a pretty good, at least beginning roadmap of what you are all about. We would also say that there are some who have been receiving information that have been fairly accurate about that. But for the most part, we see people utilizing that sort of thing to their disadvantage rather than to their advantage. In other words, once you are here in physical form, the variety that surrounds you and the intentions that are born from you become the new roadmap that you're wanting to follow. And it is so much easier for you to just feel whether you're on your path or not by the way you feel, rather than trying to sort out all of that stuff that you really don't have access to, especially since for the most part you have to count on other people to translate it for you. Esther had some slight questions about it because she'd heard about people like you who had interest in it. And one day, early in their Abraham experience, they were having lunch like you did today, and there were a group of people around a big table, and someone brought big volumes of astrological books. And it was noted to everyone here that if you will pick your birth date, and the books were so big that you could pick not only the date of birth, but the timing of your birth, that once you found that and read what was written, that it would give you real insight as to who you are and what your reasons for being here were. And Esther could hardly wait to get her hands on her section. And so just as the book came and it was her turn to take it, the man came and wanted to take her food order. And so Esther placed the food order, and while she did, Jerry looked her up in the book. And he pointed here. He said, here you are. And Esther began reading, and she was amazed. She said, oh, this is exactly right. Oh, I just cannot believe how they have identified who I am and what I'm about. And before Esther could get too carried away with it, Jerry said to her, honey, I have to tell you, I just opened the book at random and pointed to her. Wow. So what we are getting at here is that law of attraction could as easily guide him to who she is as some scientific interpretation. And most of those, most who are really good at the astrological charting and expressing, they are intuiting it anyway. They are using the processes to help them as a guide to ask the questions, but they are intuiting the answers that are coming forth, you see. And so we are not wanting to call it either right or wrong or good or bad. It is like so many things. If it serves you and makes you feel more confident, if you feel more frisky, if you feel more sure, if your participation in it makes you feel more autonomous with Source, if you feel invincible as a result of it, then it is serving you well. But never, ever, 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 ever would we let some book dictate who we are or what we should do in a day. In other words, you are source energy in physical bodies, and your alignment with who you are will make you impervious to anything that goes wrong and a vibrational match to all things that goes right. You could not possibly, and this is the thing that we really want you to hear, you did not, from your non-physical vantage point, make all of the plans for this life experience from that vantage point before you got here. You just didn't do it. If you could do that, there would be no purpose in coming forth and being here. You came forth to mix it up. You came forth to experience the contrast. You came forth to make decisions. You came forth to create. You came forth to expand. It was not all decided before you got here. You are creating your reality now, here and now, you see.
So even the charts that I've been reading my chart, and I've had some major life decisions. And in doing that chart, it's good to hear these words from you, because I've been so stuck for a number of years now about, changing my life. And I kept looking at the astrological chart, and I kept thinking, this is not the time, this is not the time. But actually, I can choose my time. I can pick through all that contrast, and I can know what feels good, because I have visited this place.
The laws of the universe are not lining up with a chart. The laws of the universe are lining up with what you've put in vibrational escrow. And to the degree that you line up with it, it will all line up. Leave the chart out of it.
That's a good thing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love you.